Hi, this is Bob Grant, and I'm doing the section of You Ask, I Answer Your Questions. I have someone that wrote in that says, the short answer is, why do men pull away? Well, what's tough about that is there may be a variety of reasons why guys do, so I don't know that it's one size fits all. I think what you're implying is that, things are going well emotionally, maybe you had a great date, or maybe you're in a committed relationship even, and all of a sudden for no reason the man just gets quiet or stops calling or texting, and you wonder what you did wrong or what he's upset about. And how about we just make some guesses as to what's going on? So if we're not talking about, something specific to that man, as in, for some men they've been wounded, some men have just had some bad relationships, and as a therapist I always want to know about someone's background. So for some of them, if I go back and trace their mom and dad and all that, there's a reason why they pull away. They really are scared of someone getting close to them. There's a fear of abandonment, or there's a fear of being hurt or rejected. And that's not all guys, but that is some guys. Some of it's not anything you do. Some of it is the fact that you happen to be with a man or have met a man that had these issues before you ever met him. And no matter how perfect you do it, those issues are going to surface. Not because of you, but because of the hole he carries around inside of him. Now the good news is those are fixable. In general, they're fixable. But that's not something that if a woman was pretty enough, she can make him overcome those. It doesn't work like that. Or she could say the one magical thing. I wish it was that simple. So some men actually, they pull away because they are fearful of actually having someone get close enough to hurt them. In fact, I've told this to clients a lot. And let's see if I can explain this. If a man's dating, a man like this has an issue, and he's dating a woman, and she's a prostitute or a stripper, or she's married. Some kind of criteria where he's not really thinking about her as long-term potential. He's not really thinking about her, this is marriage material, this is just someone to have fun with. He very well may date her for a long time because there's a buffer in place. There's something about her that in his mind he'll never take her seriously. But it's the woman that actually he could fall in love with, the one that's actually special. She's the one he's most likely to sabotage things with, primarily because she's the one that could hurt him. She's the one that can get close to him. And so she says to me, what did I do wrong? Assuming I knew all the details, I would say you didn't do anything wrong. In fact, this is a better indication, not that you did anything wrong, but that you're probably the type of woman he could fall in love with. And part of him, this gets kind of unconscious, I realize, part of him will sabotage it because you actually could hurt him. So that's just something to keep in mind as far as if we're talking about a man that's got an injury or a bad coping skill. But as far as why do men in general sort of pull away, the short answer is that men get overwhelmed with emotions. And so therefore, when a woman starts to feel close and connected with a man, men can do that for short periods of time, but then we get overwhelmed. We just don't do emotions as well as women do. And primarily what I mean is prolonged, like for a long period of time. Men can do really intense emotions. It's just we don't have the capacity to stay with them as long as women do. Men tend to feel really intense and then crash. We do that with all kinds of things. So if he's pulling away, I'm not saying this is fair, and maybe you think this is childish. Okay, if you think that, I'm sorry, but that's most men in general. So if you think most men are childish, you may have a little trouble, having a really close relationship with a man, especially if you think he's a child. But if you find that he's doing that, and I would say to you, first, how much closeness have y'all had? How many serious talks have you had? How much time have you spent together? And even though he should know better, in fairness to you, is that most likely he probably just needs a cooling off period. And I would say this even if you're married to him. If you're married to a man and he's just overwhelmed, that doesn't mean he's going to stay overwhelmed. It's just he can't do that emotional intensity or emotional closeness to the degree that you can. He's just not wired that way. And so what happens is if you give him the space, he's more likely to come back. Now the exception to this would be, especially if you're in a committed relationship, or especially if you're married, and you say, and you need him and you need to talk with him, most men can do that as long as they know from you. Don't just expect him to do it. If you say to him, I really need someone to listen to, or I'm just feeling lonely right now, give him some indicator for him to come back. And most men I know are more than willing to do that. It's just if you expect him to know that you need that, I'm afraid you're expecting him to be a girlfriend, and which means he's likely to fail and you're going to be upset. So that's the sort of the long answer as to why men pull away. And usually I would look at one of those two areas. If there's a past history of it with him, that's one thing. Or if it's just, in general, there's no particular reason that he doesn't have a past history, then I would say maybe there's been an extended period of closeness and he just needs a chance to catch his breath. All right, so that's the answer to this question. And as always, I'd love to offer you one of my free reports that I've written just for you and your circumstance. And if you're ready to take your relationship to the next level, if you're ready to experience the kind of magic that I've been sharing with women, for over 15 years, please feel free and check out one of our programs that I would love to have you be able to implement that and be able to share some of these almost magical qualities that you can begin to experience.